Hello again, my name is Vince Faney. I am the author of Zen and the Art of Resistance Training, a yogic and scientific approach to weight training. I started writing this book in 1996, a book that which I formulated many ideas since over 40-some years of training and experimentation and training many other people, both when I had a gym and before and after, since. Now, one of the things that I really enjoy doing is learning more and finding new and novel ways to train people to try to break out the general parameters that researchers have generally thought of. Before I go on, basically check out the video of my credentials. I won't go into too much here, but know this, that Frank Zane has, I sent him my portion of my manuscript. He's read my stuff and has agreed to give me his name, and his picture to my book. I had to ask permission to get his picture, put it in a book. This is a picture he sent me when he's 50 years old, and this is a picture when he was younger. And I just like Frank Zane's body more than almost any bodybuilders out there. I mean, you have Serge Nubret, who's a little bit different, along the same general lines. I don't like him better or whatever, but I do like certain type of symmetry, him and Bill Pearl, and so forth. Anyways, Dave Draper also gave his picture after I sent him what I had going, and this is how I looked in my 40s. So basically, you can see that even in your 40s, without the use of steroids or any even supplements, that you could get a certain way. And this look here is not from genetics. I mean, insofar as I wasn't naturally built like this, nobody in my family is built like this. I mean, my parents worked hard labor jobs, so of course they had a certain amount of strength that people did not have who did not work hard labor jobs. And in my credential, the creds, you'll check out what my measurements were, so you can get an idea of what my muscular size and how much I could lift in various things. And Ironworks, a gym where I train many people. It's a big sports facility where I've trained many people in the past. And you can zoom on this and see what my creds were. These are lifts that I've done after so many sets and reps. Anyways, I want to get off that because this don't want to take up too much time. I want to talk about my next chapter, that is chapter 28. And chapter 28 is reps and their effects. And I discovered by doing research, I wanted to know. I know what worked for me. I generally, every now and then, I would do more than 25 reppers. Every now and then, I do 100 reppers, 200, 1,000. For 60. Sometimes I want to see how much I could do in 60 seconds with a certain weight. Always experimenting and always got incredible results and surprising results from different ways I've trained. Results that I didn't expect to get. In fact, from rehabilitating, the way I worked out is what's really got me back into doing some pretty remarkable things. Anyways, you got to always balance out, low reps to high reps, heavyweight, low reps, lightweight, high reps, and so forth. And of course, the word reps and what's heavy and low is kind of relative to the person. I mean, doing 100 reps for 200 pounds may be heavy for me, but it might be light for someone else. Or benching 400 might be heavy for someone else, might be light for me. Generally, though, what's really relative is heavy and low. What's heavy and low? We can all agree that 100 reps is more than 25 reps, and 25 reps is more than what most people do, and so, we could agree that's high reps. Low reps, well, 1, you can't get too much lower than 1 rep, all right? So, again, the researchers have done a lot of experiencing, but I think they've looked at the, basically, here's the chart that I shown earlier. They determine, how many reps, what's the percentage of a 1 rep max takes 1 to 10 seconds? 2 reps or less. Now I can't imagine. I mean, 2 reps in 10 seconds. That's pretty slow. And then I put together the average rest ratios that need to be taken for each of these rep ranges, and these are all averages. These are averages. 1 to 3 minutes, more than 3 minutes, much more than 3 minutes. Okay, great little. These are averages. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, most people, or too many people, don't fall right in those averages. So when they try to go according to the averages and the charts, when the expert says you need to do this many reps or that many reps, they often don't get the results that they hope to get. And they just think, well, I don't have the genetics, or they think I must need steroids or whatever. And fortunately, that's not the case. The case is that you got to find what to do for yourself. Now, I put charts in. I talked about the systems that are targeted, the weights and time and tempo, fast pace. These are, and I'll talk more about tempo. This is a formula for tempo. This weight here, okay? Like, for instance, fastest pace is as fast as you can go. This is a tempo, say 400. I was just using 400 as a weight. Say tempo, and it's a measurement of what's going down, how long you pause, see 0 pausing, and how many seconds you go up. Okay, and of course, how many reps? Having first set time took 30 seconds, let's say, and this took 150 seconds because the tempo was different. Here I'm going as fast as you can, 30 seconds. Okay, here it's like tempo. You got taking 2 seconds on the downward movement, 0 seconds on the bottom, 4 seconds up. So that's 6 seconds times 25 reps, 150 seconds it took. And of course, rep ranges, how much rest you should take. Some people think that rest time for really heavy weights that are fast, like sprinters, need more rest time than somebody who's doing something that's anaerobic. And these are averages. That may not be true for everybody, but these are averages. That's why it's really tough. But the thing is, I decided to cover that in this book, and we needed a place to start. We needed a place on what most experts agree on, what the general population agree on. Actually, most of this information here, a lot of athletes are so unaware of the certain accepted facts that they just go. It's even worse for them because they're really working in the dark, haphazard. Anyways, this is all the things that I've showed, and I'm not going to bore you with all this. You just basically have to get the book, and again, it's based on averages. Anyways, I cover over what the researchers think work best for local muscular endurance. Okay, and talk all about giving some examples here, dealing with the particulars of systems targeted, weight times tempo, reps, what you're doing in your first set, the rest time between sets, how many reps generally is a repetition maximum, 35 reps, and so forth, and the rest time in total. So again, these are averages. This is what's something that's more along to what I think is more not as subjective and is probably more accurate. These are the what they think that the systems that are used in different sports. Marathon, phosphagus system, very low. Now I want to emphasize that all sports or activities use all the energy systems. People are under the misconception that I'm only using my anaerobic or my fast glycolysis or my oxidative or my phosphagen. So the thing is that's not true. No matter what you do, all energy systems being employed, but some may be on a low burn, not very much stimulated very much, and others are highly stimulated, like during sprinting the phosphagen system, during a marathon run, the anaerobic system, high, low, and the time of the events. So you got to consider how you got to train, how long the events. This is crucial. How long are the events going to take, and that really should determine how you're going to train, and I will talk about that later. And again, I cover how experts talk about anaerobic power, what's generally how the best way to target that, the sports used, anaerobic power, and a whole list of sports, talk about times and so forth. This is why you want to look at this and get a better idea how you should train if you're more concerned about your performance in the various athletics instead of being a bodybuilder for the sake of being a bodybuilder. And speed, strength. See, the researchers have done all this. They've done all this work to figure out what they think the averages are. And again, not all averages, not all lifters or researchers agree. It's kind of it's steel in the wheel stage. And for a lot of these guys, and I will talk about later things that you need to question on that as to what's going on, because it's. I'm going to deal with chapter 1, okay? This is chapter 28. All right? And again, we're talking about the reps and their effects. All right? And again, all this has to do with what many of the researchers agree on. And see, that's the problems I had with research was they disagreed with. They came up with certain things that I felt was kind of illogical. Like, for instance, not everybody, okay, if you're running a marathon, And one conclusion, these are PhDs, these are researchers now. And I did this research where they felt that they put marathon runners, they put long distance athletes, swimmers and long distance athletes on a program that would be to, well, on a program that was to see if it would help affect their, how it would affect their strength. And it was a basic weightlifting program, so just sets of 10, so forth and so on. And it's strange because they thought that it didn't give except for the last kickoff toward the end when they would need to start sprinting in a run or in a swim, that weightlifting was like pretty much a useless type of training for strength athletes, or no, not strength, endurance athletes. And that's just bullshit. For one thing, they didn't train them in the right rep ranges. I mean, it was just they set up the wrong. They thought weightlifting would be pretty much useless, almost a waste of time for the type of return that they would get on their training. And that's, of course, that type of training wouldn't work as well for a marathon runner as near as much as other things that I've determined, other ways of training. So many researchers more or less agreed on certain standards insofar as how the number of repetitions performed will affect your muscular growth in various aspects of strength. They have more or less agreed on how long, on average, each set generally takes to perform depending on the number of reps. All this can be differ. You know, I could show you how this is not always true. It's an average. I could work outside of these parameters, and that would have a different effect. They have more or less agreed as to which energy systems are being used. And again, these are averages. Anyways, this is, you know, there's just too much to cover in the book, just even on that chapter. And when you go to read that chapter, really just digest it, and you'll see. And I had to start with the averages. These are not averages I came up with myself. These are things that I realize there are certain inconsistencies, certain weaknesses to this, looking at these averages. But the thing is, whenever you start it, you have to start from some sort of platform. And then you got to start with it. You got to have a map in front of you to look at the terrain. And then, you know, what I teach you is how to navigate around this and say, okay, we don't need to follow this exactly. What are your goals? And can we work around it? Sort of like in the Matrix, you know. Okay, you know, here's the reality, the confines, the limitations that researchers have us believe are there, and then I'll show you how you kind of go into the Matrix and kind of bend the generally accepted rules, surpass the generally accepted rules to get the results that you want. Okay, bye for now, and we'll see you back at chapter 29.